There's no cultural community which doesn't have diversity. You just have to think about the youth. The youth belong to the same community. They have slightly different perspective on what they want that community to be about. Women often have their own perspective. The poor will have. So the diversity, that's never paid any attention to. And what you end up is, my basic question is, who speaks on behalf of the community? And we will discuss this tomorrow, but from the women's perspective, certainly not women. So it's some men and which power they come in. So this is something which I think, it's wonderful to be part of humanity, but unfortunately human beings find that too broad to identify with. So you have these smaller entities that we want something closer. So, but the diversity of individuals is crucial. None of us belong to one community. We all belong to different communities at the same time. And the point of cultural rights is that you should not have to give up any of the communities that you want to be a part of. You should not be forced to be part of communities that you don't want to be part of. So that diversity, I think, to me, is very important. In terms of school and education, I completely agree, but I think in addition to school, as I said, the classroom is one thing, the playground is another thing. The media keeps giving you messages. And when we are talking about identity, I think one of the things that was really striking here is listening to children from different linguistic backgrounds who, for the first time, because they learned the language, were able to talk to their grandparents. And not just the fact that they talked to their grandparents, but the fact that they were proud because it was being taught in school. It gave that language a status that it had not enjoyed. So before you didn't because it was granny's language and this is something you don't want to be associated with. When you bring that into the school system, you're giving them pride. And if I talk to people, they will, in fact, recently here on Friday, somebody who's actually based in Germany but now relocated said, why is it we're not taught of anything that we can be proud of our community in schools? A child who's at least second generation, probably third generation, says, I never find my name in any books. So if you want a society to believe they are part of that society at par, which is what human rights are all about, that we all are equal and we all should have equal opportunities, you have to ensure that everyone has pride in themselves in the many different communities. That's why it's called the Gay Pride Parade, is that you need to be able to assert your identity, all your identities, and you need to be able to recognize yourself in the images that you have. If you don't see your face, what you look like, or your names, or whatever is close to you, you think you are not really part of that society. Or you get the message, even if you think you're part of the society, you get the message that the rest of society doesn't really consider you a main part of that community. So I think it's interesting. In terms of bubbles, I keep telling my children at home they live in bubbles. That is not it's a cultural bubble, which is something else, because they never go out into the real world. That's it, you're all living in this bubble where you're connected with a net and you think that's reality, and many more of the youth are more comfortable with each other through the net than they are in their physical communities where they live. So that's always going to be an issue, and we just have to find ways of not always living in bubbles and exiting. In terms of, and the barriers are also cultural, in terms of poverty and economics. Don't think that economics is not related to culture. It is very much an integral part of culture, and how you perceive yourselves and how others perceive you, it's a very important part of cultural identity. Cultural rights are very centrally about identity. It's how we think of ourselves. I keep saying, to me, I don't see my mandate in preserving culture. That's not my intention. It's that the conditions must always exist for everyone to continuously create culture to think of it, what it is that they want, to reject things from the past, to create. But that is what it is. So I think the idea that culture is this, and I can pass it, that's not true. Culture is how we, it's not just dances and music and literature, it's how we think of the world. And it's how we understand the world, it's how we engage with the world. To me, that is culture. And when you talk about cultural participation and access, that's what I'm talking about. Everyone needs to be able to define the life, the society, the community, and the states that they live in. That is, to me, part of being having equal cultural rights. So, in terms of the question about the federal level, this is a problem the world over. So, this is something which all of us. They're very often good policies, but in decentralized systems, when you have different arrangements, you will have a very good policy that's put at the federal level, which will be resisted right down to, in many cases, the school level, because the school has autonomy. It's not just that the sub-state, whatever province or state you have, has autonomy. The municipality will have autonomy, then the school will have autonomy. But you need to work, as I said, that's part of what we need to do together. Anyway, I'm going to stop there. But thank you all for coming. It's been really interesting, and I hope we keep in touch. Michael knows how to get in touch with me.
Tomorrow again, speaking again. So
we'll speak again tomorrow on women's rights.
okay. Thank you really all for coming.